Dang it. Bo, no matter how hard I throw this paper airplane, it never seems to reach Mach 3. This video is going to be clickbait. Wait, I have an idea. Hey guys, it's M82 and welcome back to a totally normal Flyout video. So I was thinking about it for a bit. I was wondering how we could improve the paper airplane. Someone on my server suggested I make a paper airplane in Flyout, and that's what got me thinking. The paper airplane design itself, it's simple, cheap, and effective, but a little outdated. In this age of aerospace threats, the paper airplane doesn't truly have a purpose, but today I will give it that reason. One of the first things anyone asks upon seeing a paper airplane, is it Mach 3 capable? The answer is almost always no. Trust me, I did extensive research before this video. Can a paper airplane effectively intercept supersonic aircraft? No. Can a paper airplane perform air-to-air attacks on hostile targets? No. Can a paper airplane even become a torture chamber to subject pilots to high supersonic speeds and 20G maneuvers? Absolutely not. These are some critical flaws in the paper airplane's design, and unrefutable proof that it needs improvement. I plan to do that today. Flyout is a beautiful pre-access game where you can make your own terrible torturing devices for pilots with extreme freedom in a realistic fashion. We will be using this lovely piece of software in order to make our paper airplane. So I set to work. I wanted to create something beautiful and extravagant out of a paper airplane. The first step, however, was building the fuselage, and making sure it worked. I used fuselage parts in order to recreate the thicker leading edge of a paper airplane's wings, and then used the wing pieces in order to make control surfaces on the tail, as well as to give us some extra lift. These could also store fuel, which would be useful for our future ambitions. Jimmy will be hanging outside for this one, just catching the breeze and enjoying his time. Right, Jim? Well, it looks like he's ready to go. Alright, here goes the first test flight. It's very hard to control, and for some reason it really wants to roll upside down right now. I'm not too sure why. Let's try and stabilize it here. Oh. Okay then. It doesn't seem to be very stable. Well, that looks like it didn't go too well. Why? Well, as you may know, airplanes need to be balanced to fly. If the nose is too heavy, it'll have poor maneuvering qualities. If the tail is too heavy, the plane will be unstable. The sure thing is, this is usually in relation to the main wings. In the case of our plane here, it's in regards to the stabilizer, or the little wing piece on the bottom we put on. To solve this, we have decided to add extra stabilizers in the back, as well as little finlets so that it becomes more stable in the yaw response. In real life, a paper airplane is nose heavy, so none of this is a problem. In game, we are encountering the problem where the nose isn't quite as heavy. We can solve this by adding fuel tanks as well, which we will do later on. So obviously, we're going to be spawning in the air, since this thing doesn't seem to have gear or engines. With that out of the way, we are ready to go. Alright, let's see if it's a little bit more stable this time. I gotta say, it definitely looks more stable. We've got a pretty significant crosswind. It's 8 meters a second. That's about, what, like 16, 17 knots? So it's pretty significant, and it's, you know, holding stable even in this turn. It even seems to glide pretty well right now as well, which is nice. Kind of like, you know, a paper airplane, who would have guessed? Yep, no instability here. Looks like Jim gets to have a nice flight for once. That'll probably be the last time that happens today. See if we can't make a soft landing. Flies pretty dang slow as well. And perfect. Jim lives to fly another day. Well, that went pretty well. See? It's nothing to worry about. Honestly, with the glide slope, this thing almost feels like a real paper airplane. How silly. Reminds me of when I was a kid, I always used to cut out little ailerons and elevators into the tail of my paper airplane to try and balance the flight and give it the longest airtime possible. Man, I was a weird kid. Either way, now it's time to design the engines, and we might even give Jimmy here some cover so he doesn't look like Jeremy Clarkson by the time he hits Mach. But first things first, the engines. In order to design the turbines for this thing, I planned on implementing a similar system to what was used on the SR-71. Essentially, the engines will be low bypass turbofans, but instead of the bypass just being used for a low-end thrust boost, they will be mixed directly with the afterburners, therefore providing a significant increase in afterburner thrust due to the massive increase of air being introduced to the afterburners. This also makes high-speed travel more feasible, as the turbine has a purpose above Mach 2 other than simply providing resistance. The engines would feature shock cones and be mounted on pylons, which I wasn't sure would work entirely well due to how far below the center of mass they reside. For Jimmy, he would have as basic a cockpit as possible in order to not disrupt the design too much. He would be just hanging out on the top, enjoying the view for his first flight. It seemed to extrude a little bit too tall for my liking, and made the aircraft look a bit weird, so I ended up sinking it into the fuselage a little bit more, severing Jimmy's legs off so he could fit. After we were done with this, it was time for our next test flight. Alright, here we go on our next test flight. Wow, this thing's loud. I'll have to adjust the audio after I'm done with this. I mean, it seems to be pretty stable right now. No, just kidding, it sideslips. It sideslips a lot. Oh no. Oh no. Well, Jimmy is vomiting all of his lunch all over the cockpit, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're flying in a straight line. Oh, not for long though. Oh, yep, there it goes again. Well then. Well, since it happened again, I guess my only option here is to shorten the tail fin a little from the front. Still looks like a paper airplane, so that's okay. In order to keep the authentic look, we would be sealing the pilot within the fuselage, where he will live out the rest of his days flying this aircraft for our amusement. With the pilot sealed within, we were ready for our final product. If the paper airplane was so good, why didn't they make a paper airplane too? Well, now they did, and it's better than ever before. Introducing the Paper Airplane 2. Mach 3 capable, able to perform extreme maneuvers, and mount air-to-air weaponry. Is it good? No. Is it stable? Also no. Is it pleasant to fly or use? You got it, absolutely not. But maybe this isn't everything an airplane has to offer. Maybe such an aircraft is just what the world needs. The paper airplane will be the best